are Sint Maarten. You are Sint Maarten.
The URSM, the Unified Resilient Sint Maarten Movement, being a political movement, will be hosting a weekly radio program called You Are Sint Maarten, every Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on the Radio Mix 94.7 FM. I myself, Dr. Messalina, the political leader of URSM, will be hosting this radio program in which current issues, actualities and general topics will be discussed with the people of Sint Maarten. So join us every Wednesday on Radio Mix 94.7 for our radio show You Are Sint Maarten.
You are Sint Maarten. You are Sint Maarten.
Dear people of Sint Maarten, good evening. Welcome to your radio program You Are Sint Maarten on Radio Mix 94.7 FM. I myself, as usual, Dr. Messalina, the surgeon on Sint Maarten since 1999, will be the host of this radio program. And as you know, I'm the founder with a few others and also the leader of the URSM, the Unified Resilient Sint Maarten Movement. And we for sure will contest the upcoming parliamentary election that are planned for January the 11th, 2024. So we are ready, the URSM is ready to contest the upcoming elections, and we are preparing our candidates to be ready also for the upcoming mandates that we are going to get from the people of this country. As you know, the URSM stands for putting the people and the country above self and believes strongly in educating and informing the people of this nice country. We believe strongly that there should always be, in whatever we do, a sound balance between the economic growth and the welfare in our society. We are presenting on a weekly basis a program in which current topics, community developments and issues and general matters concerning the people of Sint Maarten are discussed. And of course, as usual, we always, or most of the time, we have a nice guest with us, an invitee. And today I have a other powerhouse with me in our program in the name of a power woman, Mrs. Veronica Webster Jansen. Veronica, welcome.
Thank you, Doc. Good day to everyone.
Very, very nice, Veronica, to have you once more. Thank you very much for taking time out to be with us in this radio program. Veronica, you decided actually to step up the plate and contest the upcoming parliamentary elections. We will talk, of course, about that. But first of all, I would like you to make use of this opportunity for once more to explain the people of Sint Maarten who is actually this Veronica Jansen Webster.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you for the opportunity. Well, my name is Veronica Jansen Webster. I was born Webster. My father is from Island Harbor in Anguilla. Is a Webster. That's where all the Websters, I would say, in the Caribbean come from. My mom, she comes from French Quarter with a father and grandmother from Dutch Quarter. So we grew up in between Dutch Quarter, French Quarter, and our home, my parents' home, is in Cahill. So those are my neighborhoods. And later, I moved to Sekersgut. So I'm a daughter of the soil. I went to school. I was born here, St. Rose Hospital, as we like to say. And then I moved then. I went to school, St. Joseph School, and then MPC. After MPC, I did not want to travel as yet, so I went to Curaçao, where I did MIL, Maria Immaculata Lyceum. I did my VWO there, because Sint Maarten did not have VWO 5
in that time.
Yes.
And I didn't know that you did your VWO in Outra Banda, actually.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I stayed there 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I learned a lot being away from home at a young age. I left here at 17. So being away at a young age and having to to kind of stand on your own, but also a different culture, and that all of that I think strengthened me in order for me to move on after the 2 years to the Netherlands, where I studied mathematics there, and it was for everyone. Or for a lot of people in the Netherlands, it was quite a shock, like how are you coming to study mathematics?
Mm-hmm.
It's a difficult subject. But I didn't do bad. I got my propeduizer at a given moment. I think after completing the third year, I decided that I wanted to do something else. I had already chosen operations research and statistics, and so I went on to what was called the Vereniging voor de Statistiek, which was a statistics organization, had a study on statistics that I could do. So I went on to that and was able to complete that. And it really stood out because the statistics foundation, they did this training of 2 years, and I was able to, just in 3 months with my statistics training from the university, I was able then to pass my statistics analyst test and move on with that knowledge to work for NIPO, which was the leading the Netherlands Institute of Public Opinion. So I got my experience working. My first job was in the Netherlands in a large corporation. We had more than 250 employees.
Incredible.
And
It's a great moment for experience, right?
it definitely was. It definitely was. And I was able to work my way up. So I started out just as a trainee in analysis in the business-to-business section. And in no time, I was working for our Hong Kong division. I was working for our London division, mainly because of being fluent in English.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to handle those departments, and also because of the amount of work that I put in. I've always been a hard worker, and I didn't mind staying back. And sometimes I would have to put in 12 hours because the time difference in Hong Kong, but I would stay in. So I would do the Dutch work and then stay back to be able to do the work with Hong Kong. So stuff like that. I believe in hard work. I still believe in hard work, and because of that, I was able to grow in the company.
Veronica, how long did you work for this NIPU?
NIPO, I worked for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And after the 3 years, I was just due for like the biggest promotion. They offered, when I told them that I was leaving, they offered me double my salary.
Whoa.
And yeah, it was such a big increase, the amount of steps that I would increase in the salary scale.
Mm-hmm.
It would be double, and they really wanted me to stay, but I had made up my mind because I wanted to invest and to grow in Sint Maarten.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was,
your home, right?
Yeah, it was my home. So I did have to take a step back,
Mm-hmm.
but I came down. It was right after the passing of the matriarch of our family, my grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
and I decided, no, I'm coming home, and I was so welcomed, and I got about 3 job offers, of which I took the one in government because I was told at the time, if you come in government, you can network.
Mm-hmm.
And I must say that I have done that. I have, through my work in government, I have been able to work with so many different stakeholders and meet so many people that to this day, it still assists me in any projects that I'm doing, anything that I'm doing. I know the stakeholders, I know the people. So,
Veronica, you told me you started in government, right?
Yes.
Where did you start in government?
in 2000,
Mm-hmm.
I came home and I started in economic affairs.
Okay.
I worked for economic policy and research in the research division.
Okay, that's your first job.
That
you
was
had
my
at Sint
first
Maarten.
job, yes. And I worked there for about 3 years.
Mhm.
And then I transferred over to tourism, and I did research there for tourism as well.
Also the TIAT.
Also in TIAT,
TIAT ministry.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in TIAT for about a little bit more than 5 years, and then there was an opening for poverty alleviation research. There was a report that was due, and so this was a special department that was made, a special assignment, and so I transferred there. So
You're talking about 2016?
this was about 2005, 2006. Yeah.
2005, 2006
Yeah,
already?
yeah.
Okay.
The end of 2005, I think it was. And then so it was just a project for about a year so that we could receive funding. There was a Dutch program that we could receive funding once we delivered a program, etc. So I went there to work, and after that, actually before, but this was the time when it happened, I was recognized and by the Council of Ministers, and then not the Council of Ministers, the commissioners, the Island Council.
In that
And
time.
then yes, and then I went to work for one of the commissioners for 2 years. Also working, my portfolio was economic affairs and sports,
Okay.
because I have always been an avid sports person in the community. I've been involved in nearly every sport, and also working with that commissioner. I mean, I I had the opportunity to do so many nice things, like going to follow the international canoe race between Sint Maarten, so in the seas between Sint Maarten and Sint Bart's. I mean, there were like such sports that you don't know that take place on Sint Maarten if you're not really into sports, but there's a lot that's going on. So that was, a really nice job, and I was very well known. I still am in some circles, very well known in the sports area. Just recently, some people shared with me pictures from my father when he would manage and coach one of St. Martin's most prolific, one of the best cyclists that we had back in the day, and I would always be there next to him. And I went on myself too to manage a cyclist after as well, and that cyclist was he was also riding professional in Guadeloupe, and he's now in France, but he's not cycling anymore. But I mean that love of the sport is there with me. And
now, Veronica, you are now working by which department in government?
Now I am back in economic affairs, but now I am with the stat department.
Okay.
It's
very nice that you mentioned the stat department. Veronica, explain us the stat department. Explain the people of Sint Maarten, what is this all about, this stat department?
Well, the Department of Statistics, what we do, we have a few main statistics that we produce for the country. We are the responsible department for producing the country's statistics, the official statistics. You might have seen, was it Monday, that the central bank produced some statistics. For instance, they spoke about the GDP. That is an estimate that they have. That is what they expect. But the actual GDP figures, they and everyone relies on the statistics department. So that's the gross domestic product.
Yes,
of
but
the
what
country.
the central bank is using, is that information that they get from your department?
They use our official information, but they also use information they get from us for projections. Like, for instance, they get the air arrivals and the cruise arrivals, those economic figures they get from us, and then they translate it into their estimate based on, they have seen the numbers the years before, and then they can do a calculation to find out. So we have two kind of statistics in there. We have economic statistics, and we also have the social statistics, so the household statistics, such as the statistics that we got out of the census. So with the census, the census was very tedious. Census is done every 10 years, and it's a long survey. People think that we're really asking them a lot of their personal business, etc. But it is much needed.
Veronica, give me some examples of social stats. That's because I think we should inform the people so that they understand. You talk about economic stats, and you're talking about social stats.
Okay.
Give us a little some.
I'll go back first to another example of economic stats that people look forward to: the CPI, Consumer Price Index, and then inflation. So we do that as well. We send people out every month to not only supermarkets, to different retailers to get prices. So we find out, and we take a real big amount of prices. We check every month how they fluctuate, whether they go up or go down, and based on that we do a calculation, a quarterly calculation. So that's another important economic statistic. Now, when you look at the social statistics, there are the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. You know that we talk about zero hunger by 2030, etc. And when you follow the news, you see that internationally, they're looking to shift a lot of these goals because you're not seeing it being met. So when you do a census, we ask questions about hunger. We ask questions about income. You want to know cost of living. You want to know how much people pay for rent. Do people own their own homes? You want to know what type of homes they have. If the homes are, let's say, secure in the sense of, are they built with walls of concrete? What are the roofs built of? There's so many social questions that were asked. How many people live in a household? You want to know how many single mothers are there? Are there single fathers? How are single mothers doing compared to other women? How are gender equality? That's another one of the SDGs. Are women making the same amount as men?
Wow,
all of those.
That's a lot.
It's a whole lot.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. But out of the census, you just ask a regular question. But when you cross those questions by other questions, so you make a cross tabulation, you get so much more so much more meaning out of the numbers.
And then the government, at the end of the day, can base their vision, their policy on their realistic stats that you present to them.
Exactly. Okay. And that's why we were telling people it's so important, to do the census, because you want the information to be representative. And what I can say so far is that there was another study done at the same time, which was done by the VSA, so Social Affairs, and their study was I'm thinking in Dutch. Every time I think on stats, because I studied in Dutch, so that's why I'm stumbling over my words. But so it's a sample, steekproef, is a sample that was done by VSA. And when you see their sample, they're the answers that they got out, and the answers for our similar questions, you see that it's quite similar. So of course with the difference, the margin of error, but we both fall within the same margin of error. So
that gives some satisfaction
yes,
too, in the way you work,
it does, because it's kind of a confirmation that our numbers are good. Yes. Because it means if you go out and you repeat a survey and you get the same numbers, it's because that's close to the reality. Close to the reality.
Fantastic.
So we feel very comfortable with it.
And for the sake of clarity, Veronica, you are now the head of the stats department for Country Sint Maarten.
Yes, okay. I am the head of the statistics
a big responsibility.
Department. It is.
Fantastic. Congratulate you for that. Of course, you have the background and the education to take care of that part of a ministry. And officially, the Department of Stats falls under the Ministry of Tiat.
Under the Ministry of
Okay, I ask you all these things because I really believe that we have to inform and educate the people that they understand how their government is organized. I think that is very important for them. Veronica, we have here a very interesting conversation with each other. At the other hand, we are running out of time. Time is flying. I'm going to take a small break and we will be back in a few minutes. Dear people of Sint Maarten, welcome to the second half of our radio program, You Are Sint Maarten, on Radio Mix 94.7 FM. As mentioned in the first half, and as known, we have today with us in our radio program Mrs. Veronica Webster Jansen as a invitee. Veronica, we spoke a lot about your curriculum, your walk that you had in life, and we ended up by realizing or stating that you are the head of the stats department of Country Sint Maarten. Because of the fact, you said it yourself, you have a lot of information about the economic stats of the island and also about the social stats. And I assume that you realize that we have a challenging situation now with people going through some hardships. And of course, we are going to touch base on the cost of living. That is actually a big threat for human existence here in Country Sint Maarten now. Tell me what your perception is about the cost of living at this particular moment in Sint Maarten.
Well, from what I have seen, the cost of living has continuously increased. You could say since the third quarter of the second quarter of 2021. From then you could see that the cost of living has been increasing. It ends up where, because cost of living is from month to month, but the CPI, so the CPI has been increasing. The consumer price index is from month to month, but the inflation, that one is from year to year, and that one you see a continuous steep increase, and people are feeling it. And the biggest increases that you're seeing lately is they are in food. So you see, so worldwide, this is a phenomenon not only for Sint Maarten. This is a phenomenon worldwide. It's also a phenomenon worldwide that in the second quarter you see then the CPI and the inflation leveling off. So we're starting to get back more to normal. You see it leveling off, and in Sint Maarten as well. We saw it in the second quarter. It was published. You saw it leveling off. However, food remains high. And what I would like to say about consumer price index, inflation, and cost of living in Sint Maarten, we know that Sint Maarten has a very high cost of living. There were studies done compared to the other islands in the Caribbean. We also know that we have had the lowest minimum wage. So the two, it makes it very difficult, and it creates then vulnerable groups in our community. And some of the most vulnerable are, for instance, the elderly. And what I think is important at this time, knowing the situation with the inflation and the cost of food, when you see, for instance, one of my family members received 13 GEBE bills yesterday in one day.
13.
13.
If you count them all together, it's going to be a surprising big amount of money to pay.
Exactly. And then, of course, you know that your bill is coming, so you're supposed to pay down. But especially with people who just moved, if you moved, you don't get a meter number. You were not able to get a meter number where to pay down. So you didn't have where to pay down. You can't just pay just in the wild. So you would then have to make a savings account and put that money somewhere.
Yep.
You know, so it's like it put people in a really, really tight spot. And then all 13 bills are due. So they came in yesterday. They are due for the 23rd of October. So now if you are an elderly person and you don't know, you didn't know how much you had to pay, there are some people who also had a leak. And, you know, I have a lot of understanding for the staff of GB because I was a director there for 4 years. I understand the workings as well. However, I think that there is some understanding that is going to be necessary now for the people who have to pay these bills. And there has to be some kind of a understanding, and you can't just say, you know, pay X amount or I will cut you, because you have people who have illnesses, who have diabetes, elderly people who need to be able to have the basic necessities, because electricity and water is a basic necessity. And I think that we are not hearing enough about a solution
for
this
situation. That we're in. Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's a situation that has to be spread over a longer term. Yes. Because it was the problem was spread so long. I think that the solution, so the payback period of these people, has to be spread over a longer period.
Yeah. You know, Veronica, as my wife always says, we didn't ask for the problem.
Exactly.
But we are now being obliged to be confronted with a problem that we didn't ask for, and then to go so far even to start disconnecting people. I think it's a little unrealistic and inhuman to do.
It's very
with
harsh.
all respect for GEBE, because on the other side we switch.
If you use electricity, you should pay for it.
Of course,
you should.
Of course,
but it's not that some people. It's not that they didn't want to pay. Some people, it's just that they were not getting their bill. And now they got the bill. Some people got the bill and there was a leak.
Yeah.
But if I didn't know that there was a leak 3 months ago because I didn't get a bill, imagine I have 3 months of leak bill now.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. So all I'm saying is to come with a humane decision and spread it over years, that big outstanding, and let's start from scratch with the new bills, that you pay those new bills, but those older bills, let's spread it out, because I don't know how this family member of mine will pay 13 bills at the same time. You know, you do put a savings, for your GB bill, but you don't know what to expect.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to expect the people to pay at one time 13 bills. It's impossible. But okay, that is also the part of, and it's expensive too. The utility bills are very high bills for each family in Sint Maarten.
Having worked there, I know that when you look at the other countries in the Caribbean, GEBE is not in the top expensive islands for electricity. We are right in the middle, compared to other Caribbean islands. However, that doesn't take away that it is
expensive.
It is an expense for families.
Veronica, sometimes you said we are average in the Caribbean. We are now the highest in the highest group of expensive utility, but there are lower ones to us too, right?
Yeah. But there are also utilities that are subsidized as well.
By government.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
And we don't have that here in Sint Maarten.
No, we don't have that.
And that's why it remains a little expensive for the poor people of this country.
It is.
Actually, for everybody, by the way. And I really think a good proposal yours is the intention to see if we can spread it a little more. Because on the other hand, we have to make sure that there is continuation of revenues for the utility company of GB2, because it's our national utility company, and we have to treat it nice too.
Exactly.
On the other side, we're sitting here using electricity, and we have to be grateful that we get it also from the GB. So actually this knife cuts in two sides. GB has to be nice with us, and we can be and must be nice with GB too, let's be honest. And everybody has to assume their responsibility. Once they use electricity and water, they have to assume their responsibility and pay for it too. But of course, not in the way that it presented
remember
itself.
the entire community depends on GB. I saw that after the hurricane being in GB, and planes can't land if you don't power up the airport.
Of course.
Cruise ships come in to a harbor. They need power.
Of course.
You need power
to have a country.
To have a country.
Yeah, of
so
course.
it's a very important organization on Sint Maarten, and we need to treat it as such. We need to give that attention that is necessary
to keep it sustainable.
Of course.
Veronica, you spoke about cost of living. You spoke about food price.
Yes.
You spoke about GB. Utility. The food price that you're talking about, do you have some ideas what we could do with the food prices to get a little better control of what is going on? Because if you as you're talking with people in the community, they complain a lot that 1 week they go in a supermarket and all of a sudden the same product is a totally different price than the week before. And I think we should be more correct with the pricing of products too. I don't know what your opinion is.
I think that people need to pay a lot more attention to where they shop. You know, you might think, it's not worth it. Oh, it's going to cost me gasoline. But if I leave from this shop, I only buy these things here, and I go to the other shop, is it really worth it? I have seen where, yes, it is worth it. Where one shop might have something for 8 guilders, and the same identical thing you can get in another shop maybe for 3 guilders. So you'll ask yourself, why? But it's placement and pricing, and you have to remember that the supermarkets are a business and they need to make their money as well. So I would say to pay good attention as a consumer where you buy what. What can help you with that is there's a website in the TIAT ministry, and you can Google it, the maximum price website. You can go on there, and they usually also list the prices in the supermarkets of various goods. So you can compare supermarkets with each other, and you can also follow in the newspapers when there are specials. There are different ways how you can cut costs. There are other ways that are not conventional, but I have seen where it has worked for me. It has worked for family members. When the price of eggs was so much, an alternative, when you have the space, is you can get yourself some chickens.
Yes.
And some people will be angry or they will make jokes about that. However, I have seen people do that. I have seen people also go over to then selling eggs. If you look now, there are so many families who keep their own chickens, and they sell eggs, they sell chickens, etc. You see, I come from that background. I come from a rural background, so for me it's like kind of normal. For other people, they're like, oh no. But I have been coming across so many people who have reverted to doing that again. There's the backyard farming where you can grow just on a balcony. You don't need to have a yard. On a balcony, there are these grower pots where you can grow potatoes. You can grow different food items that you can use yourself. So even if it's not popular, for a lot of people, oh, it sounds jokey, oh, I'm not doing that. Believe you me, if you try something new, maybe it will help as well with your cost of living, because the cost of living is high everywhere. Food is very high everywhere. And what we did an exercise with our consumer price index, comparing it with that of the U.S., because a lot of our prices come in, and their inflation and their CPI was way higher than ours. And we credit that to us having the French side, which has subsidy on food items in the supermarket over there.
We don't have it on the
We
Dutch
don't
side.
have it, but France subsidizes, and they made a whole report on that in the newspaper where they subsidize some items over there in the supermarket. So, but it trickles down by us. So we have a lower CPI and inflation than in the US, where most of our stuff comes from, but the pattern is exactly the same. Where they rise, we rise. So the pattern itself is the same. So we there's not much, in our control to bring down the inflation. However, as a consumer, you can decide how you consume. You can decide if you're going to pay X amount for this item, or are you going to switch to a different item, switch to a different brand. The other brand is just as good. It's just that you're accustomed and conditioned to the name brand.
Yeah.
So there are different things that
There's
we can do as
different things that you can do
consumers.
as consumer. Right? Very good. And now, Veronica, it's time for a little politics. You decided you're going to step up the plate because I see you have so much information, so much experience. And I think a person like you should be in politics. And knowing you who you are with your good intention to help the people of Sint Maarten, I really believe that you must get the opportunity to get a mandate of the people of Sint Maarten. Veronica, with all the information you have, especially having a good sight over the poverty in our country, what are things that you would like to see changed to better the livelihood of the people of Sint Maarten?
Well, Doc, I like to start from the beginning. I think that what we need to improve from the beginning is our education system.
Very good.
I think that, and I'm not looking at just contents wise, but I do think that we need to review and see, is our education system working? But I think that we really need to make learning exciting again, and keep the young people in school, and also encourage them to go on to study. Not only study to go and work for someone else, but the basics, so that they could also be their own boss, so that they could also become a business owner. So, but I think it starts from in the schools. And I just read in the paper recently about the storytelling in schools, the introduction of that. That is so great. We need those kind of innovations. We need to teach in a different way. And because if we change and we improve that basic beginning, I think that will trickle down and continue for the whole community. If you have an educated population with a broad mindset, you then have a better basis to build on for your economy, for healthcare, the labor force,
But it's good that you say all of this, Veronica, because I really believe, as a leader of the URSM also, that we have to go back to strengthening the basis of our community. And as you said, one of the pillars to work on our nation building is to make sure that we have a strong education system that I think we have neglected if we look back in the past 13 years since country Sint Maarten. And it's very nice that the first thing you touch base on is education, and I really believe we have to do something facelifting our education system. And facelifting does not always mean that we have to improve it in a way that is going to only compete with the international norms and standards, but at the other side to make it in a way that it has a firm foundation, a good base, that people really are well basically educated to carry a country in a way that is going to be promising for nation building. And I think that we have been neglecting this vision for education, and that is that contributed to where we are standing today in our
Yeah.
country. A country without a professional treasury is not a country, and the only way to push forward the country is to build on your professional treasury in your own community. Is there anything else that you think next to education, Veronica, that you would like to see
think,
changing for our country?
Yes, Doc, as you were talking, what I thought of is one of the reasons I joined with you, and we came up with a unified resilience St. Maarten movement, the unified aspect. You know, St. Maarten is built up of so many nationalities, and I think that we need to focus on nation building. We need to focus on being one community together, being St. Martiners together, unified, because only unified too we can go forward.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean I am the daughter of one immigrant. My father's from Anguilla, and so I remember growing up being the Anguilla child in school. I was they would call you Anguilla Queen. They would tease you, etc. However, I like to show children of immigrants now and the immigrant population that I too I've started out as a child of an immigrant here, but I have been able to go away, study, and come back and help my country, because this is my country. This is where I was born. This is where my on my mother's side, all of her family was born. So I was able to come back and strengthen this country. So do not see yourself as like not from Sint Maarten. Your contribution to the island is also valuable.
Absolute. Veronica, I think it's worth to mention that when I came up with this URSM idea, that you were the first person that I approached. We remember that you were sitting at home with us, with me at a table. There was the two of us. That is how it started.
Yeah.
People forget it, but the
with
two of
Chris
us started,
as well,
and Chris
and we had-
Waver, that is also in our list. We sat, the three of us, talking and brainstorming about how we're going
How
to
we
give
wanted to make a
formation
difference, huh?
to make the difference. And we are getting there with this URSM. It's becoming a very promising wave for a promising change, and that will end up in the expression of the mandate of the people in January. I am very optimistic, Veronica, and I hope that the people will understand our message and give us in mass the mandate for us to bring the change that country Sint Maarten is in need of. Veronica, we are getting at the end of our program. Before closing off, I would like to give you the floor before we close.
Well, I would just like to tell the people of Sint Maarten, we've been around for a while, URSM. I think you have heard about us. You are able to follow us. Listen to what we are saying, and it is real. We are a party that is out there for the people, and we want to make a difference for the people. We want you to feel, after the period of governing, that you can feel and see that you and your family go forward. That is what Unified Resilience St. Maarten movement is about, in my opinion. And so come election day, support URSM, and follow me as well, Veronica Jansen Webster. Look out for me. And I would like to ask you, by that time, you make up your mind and you also support me on this URSM list.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of our radio program. Veronica, as you requested the people, you asked them humbly. I think it's worth it, a power woman like you, to bring that under the attention of the people once more, that it's worth to consider Veronica Webster Jansen as a promising candidate that can make the difference for country Sint Maarten. If that was not the case, Veronica, you would not have been on this ship with me, being the URSM. So I have the full trust in you that it will be okay, and that you have the capacity and the potentials to be the difference for country Sint Maarten. And I'm asking everyone that is listening to this program to please consider the candidacy of Veronica Webster Jansen for the upcoming elections, being January the 11th, 2024. Veronica, once more, thank you very, very much for being part of this radio program. Thank you for the time that you took out to be with us. Ladies and gentlemen, for you the same, I would like to thank you for the time that you took out to be with us. And I'm looking forward to have you back in our upcoming next radio program, You Are Sint Maarten, next week Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on the Radio Mix 94.7 FM. Once more, have a great evening. Good night.